I think the thing about healing, not always the picture painted online. I do still miss him. I didn't expect to cry this much at this. There must be something wrong with me. Hey, it's that was weird. I haven't said that for a long time. I am back. I am back. I am ready. I am coming back with a vengeance. We are getting on the content game. It's been so long since I have sat down and filmed a video like this. In fact, I don't think I've sat down and filmed a video like this in 2023 at all. That's actually right. Wow, that's mad. I did a live stream for my 500 subscribers. If you haven't seen that, go and watch that. That might catch you up a little bit on where we are. So I'll leave that listed in the description or at the top of the screen somewhere now. But if you have seen that, and what the heck is going on in my life and how the past year has been, welcome to the anniversary of the heartbreak that changed my life. Bring you up to speed if this is the first video you're watching of mine. My name's Emily, I'm 24, and last year I went through the hardest year of my life. On the 3rd of July, I got broken up with, and it's just been a complete and utter whirlwind from that point on. I can't actually tell you how crazy it is to be here now and say that was a year ago. I have a bunch of notes on my phone with things that I've pulled from comments, messages that you guys have sent me, like anything to do with heartbreak that I've been asked, anything my friends have said, like all of the stuff to do with heartbreak I am putting in this video. Also, please excuse my nails. I went out last night and like had a bit of a wild night and I lost a bunch of my fake nails, so please ignore that. So if you are seeing this video for the first time on my channel, some important things to know are I was in a relationship for almost 2 years. We lived together, and it's a really weird time frame to look back at now, but it was very much something that I never thought would end and I put my all into, and I think we both did to start with, and then things just kind of got a bit messy. He ended it, so I'm doing this from the perspective of someone trying to heal from being broken up with. Heartbreak works differently. If you're the person doing the breaking up, you're still going to feel pain, but the pain's going to be different to the person being broken up with. So that's the perspective that I'm coming at it from. There's also no order to this video, so I am going to put the little sections of things that I'm talking about across the bottom of the screen so you can kind of skip to the bit that you want, which is also going to be listed in the description. First thing I've got on my list is talking about my weight. So if any weight stuff triggers you, please skip ahead. The time again will be in the description for the next section, so please skip ahead. Please don't put yourself through that if you don't need to. So one of the biggest things that I noted was my weight loss in the heartbreak video, which has continued throughout this year. I have had weight loss and weight gain like crazy. You can obviously tell that I am bigger than I was in that video, and that's because when I filmed that video I was already like a week into the breakup and my weight just dropped like instantly because I just suddenly wasn't eating and was doing a bunch of exercise because I was trying to move house and move boxes and clear things out. All this stuff was happening. My health was the last thing on my mind because I was like in go mode of I have to just get on with it. So I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't really drinking as much as I should have. Weight just fell off of me. It was ridiculous. I spent about 2 months in that state and then slowly started to eat again in about September time. It was actually really hard to get back into eating properly, and that didn't happen again for another few months, but I started eating more regularly in around September time. That was when I noticed that my body was then suddenly starting to gain the weight back, going from I don't want anything to eat, I went into like comfort eating, because that was then around the time that I lost my dog in late October, where I'd lost so much weight. I was like, okay, I can't do that again because that was really unhealthy. But then in my other mindset I was like, actually I don't really want to gain too much of that weight back because I was probably a bit bigger than I needed to be. I'm at a healthy weight, but the problem is I don't live in a healthy way. Weight isn't everything, and I do really want to stress that because that's something that I get caught up in a lot with how I look, but it's also a case of just actually being healthy and making healthy choices, which is not something that I'm good at all. But my body's kind of changed a lot anyway, and I think as you hit like mid-20s, you kind of go through like second puberty anyway, so that's kind of where I am at the minute. Yeah, weight is something that I definitely have noticed over this past year, and is something that I'm still trying to get under control. Don't be surprised, I would say, if that is a similar thing for you, because I really struggled with that. I'm really rambling in this video. Sorry, this is going to be so long. You might want to like grab a cup of tea or something. I just want to make sure that like I get my points across properly, because so many people have asked me so many questions off the back of the video I filmed, and up until this point I haven't really felt, I want to say, qualified to talk about it, because I'm still very much like dealing with it, and it has been a long process. That actually led quite nicely into my next point. I do still miss him, and I miss the relationship, and I miss what we had. Those days are much less frequent now than they were. Every morning when I woke up, my first thought was him. Every night when I went to bed, my last thought was him. It was always on my mind. Even now, there's things that come up that remind me of him, and like, he was my last relationship. I haven't been in a relationship since then, and I don't plan to be for a long time. Without really noticing it, those days became less and less frequent. If I had to pinpoint around when that happened, I would say probably when I found out that he was in a new relationship, because that's happened since, which has been a whole nother whirlwind to kind of like wrap my head around. I knew it would happen at some point, I just wasn't quite expecting it so soon when I was still like going through it. That's because my healing process looks completely different to his, I'm sure. He was the one to do the breaking up. He'd obviously thought about that for a while, which means that he wasn't as invested in the relationship as I was for as long as I was, meaning he could move on quicker. I miss the fun that we had together, and I kind of miss like that person always being there and always having something to do with someone. It's always in the back of your head. I get to go home later and see my partner, or what are we doing for dinner tonight, and having weekend plans. And that got harder when I got a 9 to 5 like Monday to Friday kind of job. I then had weekends off, which I wouldn't normally, because I used to work in a shop where it was shift work. That suddenly became a lot harder to deal with, because I knew that he was off at the same time, and part of the reason of me wanting the job that I have now was so that we'd get more time together. Not having that and just doing it completely by myself, having this free time of an evening, was really strange, because I just didn't know what to do with myself. All this like life stuff was happening and things were just crazy, and it's all stuff that I would want to have spoken to him about specifically. I couldn't. Yeah, that was quite difficult to deal with. I 100% stand by the fact that nobody knows someone better than their partner, and I felt like I knew him 100%. To be blindsided like that was really difficult. I think he had a lot of external factors there as well. I'm very much someone that likes to give the benefit of the doubt to people. When that happened, it was just me and him. He had no reason to treat me like that, despite what his friends might have said, what family might have said, whatever. There was no need to do it in the way he did it. For me, was the hardest thing to like wrap my head around, that he could do that. So yeah, I don't necessarily miss him exactly. I miss what we had. Part of that was me like missing the picture of the future that I had. I used to talk about having kids and stuff, as you do in a relationship. Like, you talk about your future and what you want, and we both wanted children. I still want children. We would talk about what they might look like and what they might do, and like things like that. I couldn't wait to get to that part of my life. And now thinking about like my children, that's not going to be with him, that's going to be with somebody completely different. I have this picture of like what our child would have looked like in my head, and that's really hard to shake, because that's what we envisioned together. So strange, but like I almost missed that, and then I was kind of grieving the loss of the future. Saying it out loud, I feel stupid. Suddenly you're grieving the relationship you had with someone, the relationship that you could have had with someone, and then the person themselves, and it's a lot of things like pulling you in different directions emotionally. As I mentioned, he ended up in another relationship, which I believe has ended now anyway, but that's a whole different thing and nothing to do with me. I have dated, failing miserably. My bar now is like up here for relationships and dating and just men in general. Like, I am straight, I'm looking to date a man, and all that's happening, the second I see a red flag, I'm gone. I'm literally out of there so fast. I am so like on it now, in the danger of kind of shutting myself away from that kind of relationship again. I now have major trust issues to the point where I have seen a counsellor about it because I can't let people in. Like, I literally go to work, and I've worked there for almost a year now. They were saying the other day, they were like, what music stuff do you like? Like, you're so cagey, you won't tell us anything about you. Like, I'm so guarded now. Only when I feel like I can genuinely trust someone will I open up. It takes a long time for me to build that now with somebody, which is really strange. And also, not even just trust issues with other people, it's also trust issues with myself. I allowed that situation to happen, trusted my gut and him in thinking that he wouldn't do that, he wouldn't hurt me like that. Now I'm like, well, my radar's off. Clearly, if that happened and I didn't see it coming, my radar for trusting people is off. So I suddenly can't trust anyone because I can't even trust my own judgment of them. That just stresses me out. So that's been a whole other thing, but I'll get into counselling and stuff later on in this video. Back to actually talking about finding someone. I'm very much of the mind of like, if you don't try, you're never gonna kind of get there. Tinder and things can be amazing. Like, I know people that have found people on Tinder and they've had relationships and it's worked and they've lasted for years. I'm not opposed to Tinder. I've been on Tinder, I've been on Hinge, I've been on Bumble. I'm not sponsored by any of these people, by the way. I really don't like them. I've been on several dates. In the past year, I've done 3 first dates, and do you know what? That's enough for me right now. I used to be someone that would reply like that, and I am for some people. However, if I'm just like chilling of an evening and suddenly I don't want to get my headspace into like putting on an act for somebody, I won't reply to them, and I'll take the evening to just chill. That has like transformed the dating game for me, because I can tell instantly whether I like someone or not. Having that like spark for me is so important, and I just don't feel connected to anyone. And I think part of that is because I'm not sure what a connection looks like now, which comes back to not being able to trust myself. That's been interesting and is still a work in progress. I'm very happy in my single life. I can do what I want, I can talk to who I want, I can go where I want, I can see who I want. There's no pressure on me. I don't have anyone else to please but myself. I feel so much better for it. I had a haircut yesterday, changed the colour of it and like dyed it a bit and stuff. Well, I didn't, a hairdresser did. But that money I would be spending on going on dates, on the other person, on presents, on little gifts, on dinner, on like all sorts of stuff. And instead I get to spend that money on me, and I get to prioritise me, and I get to spend my time on me, do whatever I want to do, and do whatever fills my cup and makes me happy. I would highly recommend indulging in yourself, in your hobbies, in your friends, in your family. I've been working out a bit more and like trying to feel good internally as well as externally. I have been playing around with makeup. I've been putting nails on and like trying different things, and like now that I'm in an office job I can paint my nails and like have different things and experiment, which is lovely. This is a crop top. Like, sorry, can we just talk about the fact that I am in a crop top? I wouldn't have worn this time last year at all. I'd have been like, no, my stomach's too big, I can't do that, blah de blah. Now I wore this to a work event last night, like this exact outfit. I was a bit like, oh, I'm at a work event, maybe I shouldn't do this. It was a really casual event. I was like, do you know what, I am going to wear this top because I want to feel confident, I want to feel good, and I want to bring a bit of summer in with the colour, stuff like that. Like, just do what makes you happy. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about being something that you're not. Just worry about indulging in stuff that you enjoy. It will significantly help to heal the wound of someone else taking that joy away from you. I really feel like I gave basically all of my like soul and heart to this person that suddenly was like, nope, I'm good. And it just showed me how much I can give and how much I can love and how much I can do it for other people, but I can't do it for myself. Been my main focus of this year, and I feel better for it, I would say. One of the hardest things that I've found in this past year, maintaining my mental state, if you want to put it like that. It's been really hard to have like a stable week or month where I haven't felt like down or super happy or like whatever. I've kind of been like flicking between moods. I can go from surrounding myself with friends and being really happy and stuff to suddenly being home, being by myself and feeling completely numb. I believe that sit and cry and scroll TikTok and like find videos that make me feel seen and valid in what I feel, or I will just go completely numb, not be able to do anything, not be able to focus, and like try and throw myself into work stuff, just trying to have projects and things to get me through, and yet I can't focus on anything. And it's because processing like all of these emotions at once in those moments, and it's when it just hits me in a wave. I can't sustain the good, I can't sustain like feeling up and stuff. Like, it drains me of energy if I'm surrounded by people all the time, if I am out and about all the time. That's where my self-care has really come in, because I have to stop, I have to take time for myself and spend time by myself, and I'm really bad at spending time by myself. I'm starting a TikTok series where I'm like taking myself out for solo dates just to kind of get used to being by myself and enjoying my alone time. That's where my counselling has come in. I haven't had many sessions because it's one of those things where I've been to counselling before, I know the gist of it and I know what it's like. There was one person when I was younger, when I had counselling for anxiety and depression stuff, and I went through a bunch of school things and like different systems and stuff. I ended up going to see somebody that I saw in school because she was the only person to ever say to me, this is not your fault. I remember that moment so clearly because it was the first time I felt seen. Somebody had just validated the way that I felt. This is gonna make me really emotional. Wow. It was the first time somebody had like given me a little bit of self-esteem back, and my self-esteem is like on the floor. Like, I don't think it could get much lower, if I'm totally honest. There's days when I'm like, I can conquer this, and then there's days when I'm like, I am literally shit. I didn't really get what I wanted to out of the sessions that I had. I decided to stop. I'm using some of the tools that I've learned over the years to like dive into that more, because I did that a while ago and I actually managed to like talk myself out of anxiety and panic attacks, and I very rarely have them now. I was having panic attacks on a regular basis when I was in school. I'm at a point now where I've managed to like get myself out of it, which I can do a separate video on for anyone that might want that. Counsellors and things haven't really helped me in that area. It was helpful to like give her a debrief in the first session and just get all of it off my chest. Have somebody fresh into my life where I can just explain everything all over again right from the beginning and just go, this and this has happened, and I don't know what to do and I don't know how to cope with it and I feel like this. Having that did help. Didn't really end up talking about topics that I wanted to. It was more about like my childhood and stuff, which I feel like I've kind of dealt with the majority of that now. Whereas like my self-esteem stuff, I need to work on for me, and some of that does come from my childhood and some of that just comes from the sheer fact that like I have been told that I'm not good enough, or like it's joked about, and then last year happened and I felt like it was all my fault. Just all this stuff happening and I blame myself for everything, and I'm a huge empath, so I also take on other people's problems, and I'm very much always like the mother of a friendship group, and I'm always sort of the sober one that's driving everybody, make sure everybody gets home safe, and I can never relax in those situations. My head's always somewhere else. And coming back to relationship stuff, I don't want a relationship at the moment because I'm working so hard on myself that I don't want to be working so hard on a relationship at the same time. And I think the thing about healing is it's not always the picture painted online. It can be. So I would say healing online looks like having a bubble bath, or reading a book, or spending an evening with a cup of tea chatting to a friend, and that can be healing. However, my deepest healing comes from facing my own head. Thinking about my thoughts and where they come from, why they're there, and like diving into them, having really tough conversations with myself to be like, why do I feel this? That for me has helped the most. I allow myself to feel things now. I've stopped pushing against, I shouldn't be feeling this, I should be further ahead in my healing journey by now, why am I still upset over it, it's been a year, I should be fine, like all of this kind of stuff. And in reality, I'm just still processing things that were really hard for me. That's fine. There's no time limit on it whatsoever, and I think actually sometimes the more you rush things, the longer it's going to take, because you're just trying to push against this feeling instead of leaning into it and understanding why it's there and what you can do about it, rather than just going, nope, I shouldn't feel like this, I don't want to feel like this, and that can put you down more, which is going to worsen that self-esteem. I also just want to say, I'm talking about this like I know what I'm talking about. I am not like a medical professional or psychologist, nothing. I've literally just been through it, and this has just been my experience. This is what I've done, and it's massively helped me. I want to talk about setting goals and stuff in a podcast episode coming up. If you don't know, I have a podcast. It's called The Minded Soul. Now I talk about dealing with your mind, body and your soul, basically, and just enhance them, essentially. I'm sharing like what I've learned from my journey through that. So if you want to know more about it and stuff, and like what I'm doing, get my honest advice and tips and things, and you like this kind of style of information, please follow that. I will leave the link to that in the description. It's on the majority of streaming platforms and things, so I'm sure you'll find it wherever you listen to your podcast normally. And one of the things that I want to talk about in more detail in a podcast is like setting goals. I've talked about this previously, but setting goals was again one of the most helpful things that I could have done, because I suddenly had long-term goals and short-term goals, because short-term goals were doing things like this and talking to you guys, getting my feelings out, making videos, going on holiday last year. I did a solo trip for the first time, which was amazing. And then the longer-term goals for me are like getting my apprenticeship, getting my house, having a good job where I'm happy, potentially running my own business one day, all of this big life stuff. And I would really recommend that you get some goals in place, because I was lost for a really long time and I didn't know what I wanted. I have a path now and I am so pleased that I have that. And on that note, I have almost finished my apprenticeship, which is crazy. I haven't even been doing it for a year at the minute, and I'm literally talking about the end. And it was supposed to be like a 2-year course, and I've basically just kind of like sped through it. By the end of August, I'm hoping to be done. If it's not and it takes longer, that's absolutely fine. But at the minute, that is the aim. It's part of the goal setting and giving yourself something to work for and strive for. And one of the biggest things I want to do is move out in whatever form that looks like. I would love to buy a house, but on my own, it's really difficult. And I said in my live stream that I had a goal of moving out by the end of this year, and now I'm moving the goalpost slightly, because I'm actually finding things that I might want to do before I move out. I'm considering just taking risks with certain things, trying out different ideas whilst I don't have the responsibilities of a house or anything else. It's literally just me and Raya. If you're wondering about Raya, me and Raya are absolutely fine. She is loving life. She's currently led behind me, not that you can see her. Raya is my dog, by the way. Have a lovely picture of my dog. She is my best friend and I'm so glad I have her. Apologies, the quality, lighting, everything has just changed because my camera died, but I switched to my phone, which is potentially better quality. Something that I also wanted to really briefly touch on was narcissism. Narcissism has been a word that's been in my life for the past few years. I once got called a narcissist by a previous ex, not the one that I'm mainly talking about in this video. That kind of like mentally messed me up a little bit. He did the perfect thing and flipped it on me when in reality it was him. Narcissism is something that's always really scared me, and I've always been really afraid to put a label on anything, because I'm like, am I one? Is he one? Is anyone else in my life one? It terrifies me, to be completely honest, especially talking about it online. But I feel like I want to mention this because it's been a really big part of the last year for me, trying to figure out if I am one or not. This is going to make me cry, oh no. And it knocked my confidence massively. And funnily enough, this guy came back round last year. I actually met up with him because I wanted some answers. He literally turned around and said I didn't know how to break up with someone I respected. Hit me so hard. I have tortured myself for, oh no. I have kind of tortured myself, which is where like the low self-esteem stuff comes from. Going, am I this person? Am I everything he said to me? And I wasn't. And he did that as a reflection of himself and put all of those thoughts that he had about himself onto me. I think I let that affect my relationship after, which is the one that I'm trying to heal from now. That hurt, I'm not gonna lie. And the main reason that I wanted to bring that up was purely because I have just struggled so much with that thought in the last year especially. And when everything ended last year, like all of the blame got put on me. Again, it was that situation of like, why me? What have I done? There must be something wrong with me. It felt like no one else put any blame on him for anything until I spoke to someone in my life recently and I explained the whole situation and more. And I think that's the biggest thing, is like when I've explained all of this stuff and everything that happened and things, which I'm sorry I'll never share online because like I've said previously, I don't think it's fair. I've never put him down. I've never made myself out to be better. My friend said to me when I explained it, she said, "You've literally told me everything, even the parts that you've done wrong. And he should have been there for you." I didn't expect to cry this much at this, wow. But again, this is part of it. This is part of dealing with it, and I've never said this stuff out loud until now. It's definitely still healing to do that, and I want to say, like, even though it's been a year and I'm in a much better place than I was, I'm still not perfect, and I'll never be perfect. No one will ever be perfect, and there's always stuff to work on, but I know what I need to work on now, and I'm at a really good place in my life, even though it might not seem like it. I am really genuinely happy with my life now, and it's just sorting out how I feel about myself and the way I view myself, to not let other people's opinions of me affect me when I know that they aren't true. If anyone's ever made you feel like you are a certain type of way and you wholeheartedly know that you aren't, but there's this piece of doubt there that's been placed by someone else, please don't listen to it, because I did. The person that told me all those things initially has turned around and told me that it's not my fault, basically. So I kind of hope that that helps. The other thing that I want to talk about coming off of that is people you surround yourself with impact who you are. If there are traits in people you don't like and people aren't treating you as they should, you have every right to leave that relationship, whether it's a friendship, a partnership with someone, like whatever it is, you have a right to walk away. Put yourself and your mental health first, and if there are things that you cannot cope with, you have that right. And in all honesty now, if I'd thought that and valued myself enough and respected myself enough and cared more about me than the other person, I probably would have ended that relationship I had last year sooner. I put pride in the fact that I'm willing to work on relationships. It shouldn't come at a price of your mental health and your happiness and your self-respect, which mine did. If I was in the same relationship now, but with the mindset I have now, I'd have walked away. I needed that. I needed that breakup. I needed to just have a complete, like, 180 on my life and change everything, which is exactly what happened. I'm in a much better place for it. So glad that I can sit here and say that, despite crying on camera again. I hope that this video has maybe given you some takeaways on what I've done and what you could maybe try to do if you're going through it. I want to say thank you again for all of the messages that I've had from you guys. Anything that you guys have done to show me any level of support, I am so appreciative of, and I have tried as hard as possible to reply to every single one of you. I am also hoping to be back now with regular content, with regular stuff going on, and like, I know I said this previously, but now that my apprenticeship is kind of coming to an end and things are moving forward in that respect, I feel like I'm gonna have time and space in my life again. So please hold on to these videos. I will be back properly very, very soon, I promise. Hoping to have this as a bit more of like a vlogging channel, and like more of a lifestyle kind of thing, and then talk about some of the heavier topics like this on my podcast. Getting back to me and my channel, not a heartbreak channel. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye everyone.